about my family.
Here we go.
This is the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Meeting, Tuesday, February 24th. I guess.
Move to open the meeting.
Yeah, move to open the meeting.
I'll second. Motion carried.
Yes. And then we've the meeting minutes from February 2nd. Is,
No notes.
any comments or
No.
feedback?
No comments.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2026. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Okay. And then I guess we can go to the expenditures, which are pretty light this month. 16,278.44. Mostly one big consultant.
And is the only big expenditure we have
Sean
outstanding
Flons,
is
right?
Sean Flons, yeah. And they have to finish their work there, so that's probably a few months out.
Yeah, it'll be spread out likely over several, there'll be like a final or to catch them up on any work that's still outstanding or work that they have to do. And then there's, the release of retainage, which will likely happen over, a couple separate payments versus all in one lump sum.
Okay.
But yeah, given the weather, I don't see them coming out anytime, within the next few weeks.
Okay.
So fingers crossed that we get a good stretch of warm weather and melt in March, and they really only need about a week to 2 to just bang out what it is they need to do.
Do we give them like time frame that we need it, and then push it out by like 2 months?
They know when we need them to be done by. What I'm
What's
still
the date
waiting
we
for.
gave them as a refresher?
By the end of April. And so what I'm still waiting for is an actual completion schedule. Even if it doesn't have knowing that the actual date is dependent on the weather to a large degree.
Is there any timing like we can
Thank you so much.
pull funds away for, thank you. If is there like, if you don't finish by this date, like did we not finish by these date rules?
That's a more complicated discussion, and no, I don't think we have some leverage, but it's an open-ended.
They've done a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Besides this last thing, and I get it, they're doing other bigger jobs, but whatever we need to leverage to wrap up.
Yeah, our leverage right now really is withholding retainage, right? That's a lot of money. They're going to want it, right? Yeah. So that's what's going to keep them interested in completing the work so that they can.
That's why you hold retainage.
It's what it's for.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was any additional. I guess we'll get there.
Sorry for the sidebar, but just wanted to make sure we knew the details.
Okay.
Do we motion to approve the expenditures as presented February 24th?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way that we would know if we've increased additional costs on the Google Drive would be in the email hosting.
A1CS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because Dan's worried about the storage, and I said, well, I think it would get flagged to us, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to. I can go back and look at our previous monthly. I don't know if the 129 is.
It looks.
I feel like it was $98 in the past, so that might be an increase of about $30 over the normal. But
we probably, if we were already paying for the storage, because I don't think anybody clicked like increase or change the plan, right?
Unless it was the administrator.
They were saying it was. I guess I'm also confused. Does each board have their own? Like this isn't part of like the village. Like
no, because the village uses Outlook. We don't use Google. And I think this is better.
Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was more just a curiosity factor, and Dan saying most of the documentation is up there, which is fantastic, but we want to make sure that it's complete. But if we're flagging storage, we just want to manage the understanding of the costs.
And then ultimately, do we want to exit Dropbox? Is that the idea?
Well, that's done.
Oh, great.
We killed
Okay,
it.
Because
awesome.
I was the one
Okay.
doing the
Okay.
Dropbox. So
Okay.
Dropbox has been minus one folder. I'm not ready to delete off a Dropbox yet. I just want to make sure.
Great.
But yeah, there's no more Dropbox
Okay.
for the LDC.
Okay. Move on to the resolutions. You have 3 resolutions, right? First one is for the site survey for TGA. Is this,
Evaluation.
This is the SDVOB design consultant. So as part of the Restore New York grant that we received for the cleanup of 6468 Beekman, we do have an SDVOB goal as part of that grant. TGA is an SDVOB design firm. We did solicit several firms.
Yep.
yeah, so this is 6468, and this is for
They were
that.
the most competitively priced.
But it was 12,700 was.
12, it's 12,700, which meets our minimum goal. SDVOB, they are pretty much ready to, we would be ready to execute a contract with them if this, once this resolution is approved. The only thing that's going to hold up, again, some of the work that they need to do is the supplemental topo survey. They need some of that snow to melt so that they can get accurate elevation topo shots around the site.
And in terms of access, they can just go through the side theoretically. Like, do they have any equipment that they need to get in there?
No. It's just manpower only, right? A surveyor would go in with, a rod where they can.
Oh, sorry, not the survey, the actual, these guys.
These guys have their own in-house survey. Those will be the only folks that will be coming physically to the site to do any work.
How are they going to get onto the site?
Through the gate at Beekman. Beekman,
Okay.
Whatever the address is.
They can deal with the.
So they can get in. Oh no, yeah, because they can walk, they can climb down there.
Okay.
But this, there's surveying, and then there's actual engineering.
Yes, and the design work they're doing all from the office.
Okay.
Okay.
Putting the plans together, the estimate, the details.
So this is just for the initial
This
design.
is just to
not for anything else.
correct, to create simple set of plans that we can advertise. Then we can go forward with the contractor selection to execute the physical work.
And they are designing kind of just basic site cleanup?
Yep.
Right.
Good. Thank you, George.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
is it clear what the scope for them in terms of cost estimate? Like, are they providing doing a cost estimate?
Yep.
Before the magnitude?
Yeah, it's pretty detailed.
Oh.
Yeah. They broke it out into a couple of different, survey, design,
Sorry, I mean for the actual work after.
Yeah, they will provide a construction, quantity takeoffs,
Okay.
right? And it's, just a simple construction cost estimate that we can use to validate, right, bids that we receive, make sure, see what's in line, what's out of whack.
Do we have a rough estimate of what we think it'll cost already, or what?
We have a
Based on the.
Spitball.
general, the budget that was essentially used is about 230,000 in that ballpark.
And so this scope plus the work is all part of the grant?
Correct. So all in, it's about 235 or 236,000.
And these guys these are local-ish team, and seems to make sense to. We have, we want to approve this?
You guys good?
Yes.
Motion to approve the resolution for site survey and engineering service as presented by TGA Design Consultants.
Seconded.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. With the next resolution for for Jenny at for her grant.
Yep.
To bring us more projects in the coming year. And it starts, I guess, I mean, it's 95,400 for the full year. And that includes basically any work from now till, I guess, beginning of next year.
Right, it's, I think there's a date range
December
within the
31st,
proposal.
26, yeah.
And did anybody have any questions or
No, I'm good with this.
issues
Yeah, I'm
on
good with
this?
this.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think she's
She
done
does an
great work.
invaluable job. Yeah.
Yeah, she's done great work for us since we've been on board.
Yeah.
And I think makes sense.
Motion to approve the resolution as set forth for the professional services agreement between the LDC and the consultant, which is Pace University Land Use Law Center.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
No? And we have one last resolution for the, this is the site survey. This is weird. This one also says site surveying and engineering, but this is really just for the fence, the corner fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to revise that
I mean,
title.
the information in it
Yeah.
says the,
75,000 for the fencing project.
It's just a copy.
but this wasn't this,
Amend the scope
additional-
of work. Okay, so yeah, this is an
It's
amendment.
not the
says
75, it's
500
the
linear feet
16,000.
of 6 foot high.
Yeah.
Galvanized fencing and related gates and equipment for 16.4.
And this
So-
is the, where is this 500 linear feet? This is the new,
This would
the
be,
old existing DPW location?
right, so between, up closer to the DeVries entrance,
Yeah.
there will be a short run of fence with a gate, and then just to the north of the new intersection, there would be a longer stretch of fence that wraps around the stockpile, the dirt
Okay,
stockpile.
so we're fencing
So-
off the stockpile.
So this is
Yeah.
if this is the road that comes down and there's the stockpile.
Yeah.
And this is the parking
Yeah.
here. I think it's to go from basically the road to the Metro North here.
Okay.
And I think there's
Yep.
another link down at the bottom, kind of right at DeVries.
And
So
right
that
now-
this connects here.
But right now, this is fenced off now, right?
Yes, so this is.
So it's-
but-
And so we are connecting,
extending it.
this is the new one?
No, I think we're connecting here to here, and
Yeah.
then down at the bottom,
Okay.
right at DeVries, there's another.
So the future access will be through this one?
Yeah, you'll,
So it's just a matter
I
of
think it'll probably
opening
end up
one
going
set of
like this
gates,
and-
closing another to,
Okay,
There's an existing gate.
okay, okay.
and there's a topo change of like
Yeah.
4 or 5 feet
Yeah.
between here and here, so
Okay.
you kind of have to go down there
Okay.
unless you make a.
So we should make sure we ask the DPW has there been any discussion with Kevin and his team about the date of moving all the equipment? Because there is a number of storage items that will probably take a little while to move. And so if we're driving towards that May date, we want to give them like 2 months lead time. Because some of that stuff is pretty heavy and they'll have to get some sort of big truck or something to move it.
yeah, the specific, date, no, but he's aware that, he's got a bunch of stuff to move.
Okay, we should maybe clarify that. Because when
Yeah.
is that May, the parade?
It's like the middle of May.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the 16th or something, but we can.
So maybe
Um,
end of April.
not that long
Everything
ago.
has to be moved end of April.
And so with this, when they come, I guess we can, I don't know if we need to be very specific with them about how, what connections are staying. Like you drew, like there's.
Yeah,
like
all
2
the
lines.
existing fence is staying in place, and I'll meet with them, to mark out, where they're gonna tie, connect to this post, gate here and here. So they'll get it all marked out in the field. That might not be able to happen until, a significant amount of snow melts. So they're not taking down any fencing, they're even just adding a couple little connecting runs, so we'll be able to, through opening and closing selectively certain gates, corral, either vehicular or pedestrian traffic through the northern portion of the site.
We have a motion to approve.
Can we still approve even though the headline's off? Okay.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the additional service for the Calmer fence at the amount of $16,400.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Done. So then we have Dan, if anything you want to go over?
Yeah, I've got a little bit quicker update tonight. Really hasn't been anything that's happened construction-wise on the site. The only update there is that Con Ed did commit to a date at the end of last week to connect the power
Finally.
this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Remains to be seen if
Yeah,
the
right,
weather
they're fixing
impacts
all the
that,
other
but
stuff.
I have not heard that it's being rescheduled or
I'm not
canceled.
complaining because they got my power back on. So.
So,
You lost power.
fingers crossed they can make that happen by the end of the week. If
Yeah,
not,
we all lost power.
Yeah.
There was some transistor issue on
Canada.
Congo,
Yeah.
and our neighbors having issues today.
so that's the East Parcel construction update. Woodard and Curran, I shared a couple of concept layouts that the design team provided that effectively captures that additional scope for the pro-housing grant project. There's two kind of simple options. One that extends the promenade around to the intersection and then has a covered pavilion within like a stone dust area with landscaping around. And then the second option substitutes the kind of stone dust pad for just looping around the, pavered promenade, walkway with the pavilion in the middle. I did provide a couple of comments as to showing, some signage and some benches and things in different locations. So they're still working on those revisions, and then they haven't put together a cost for that, but we should be getting that soon.
So are they, sorry, just to clarify, so they're doing these work, they're putting these concepts together as kind of a pitch to us, and then they're gonna.
So what this would be, there are going to be two things that come to the LDC or the board of trustees for approval. The first would be the GMP for the base project, right?
Yeah.
That's the promenade, courts, skate park, everything. In addition to that, right, this would be, I would call it a change order.
Okay.
So to include this additional scope, right, which was not previously a part of the project, and really is being added to take advantage of the fact that we have multiple grants, multiple projects, all kind of overlapping. So what we're trying to do is get all the scopes and all the costs to mesh, with what we've obligated ourselves to the state and grant. So that's the numbers part of it. Once we have the GMP and then this additional cost, which would be in the same format as what we've seen previously for the base project.
Is location flexible with any of this stuff? Can that pavilion be anywhere? Could it be on the other side? Could it be on the DPW? I'm just curious, does everything have to be tied into each other, or?
Like DPW side, meaning like the other side of the road?
Yeah, either or. I'm just curious because it's like we're kind of tying ourselves,
Yeah.
we're kind of backing ourselves in.
And so the reason, if I were to overlay their concept plan on top of like the current survey, you would see that it's basically falling within both the confines of the existing roadway network, as well as if you lay out that at least what's been conceptually designed, the multipurpose field. So by constructing this, we're not precluding, if that bridge alignment, that's affecting things further to the north. So if we were to build a larger space, that might affect the intersection or the future field. So this is trying to take that into consideration and make sure that we're building within the footprint of an area that's not going to preclude future work, on oh, we just, built this intersection, now we have to tear it out because we want to put and as far as elements within, I think there is probably some flexibility to move some things around as long as all of those elements are achieved as part of the project. It's a little bit tougher to start moving things to different, non-continuous areas. I think that would certainly be something we would have to ask the folks at the state.
Just ask because it's like, there's like a pavilion right on the road. It's just not.
And right next to the soccer field.
Yeah, and right now, it just seems like it's not like the most exciting.
Maybe it would be better by the courts between there.
I mean, we were kind of doing we were doing a little bit of that originally with the sales. That little sales structure.
Right, so.
I mean, depending on if it's an amphitheater or if it's just a pavilion.
And that's kind of the beauty of as a design build, right? This isn't necessarily set in stone. As long as, areas and things are all equal, right? It's not built yet, right? So there is some flexibility to say, hey, can we flip flop, like you suggested, that shade sail area and the covered pavilion? And, as long as all that scope is included under one project, and it's, when we report to the state agencies, it's, I think there is certainly some flexibility to.
Do we have a timeline on when they'll send their GMP?
I've been asking. I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a timeline, but I would hope that we are a little bit closer, especially with some of the, some of these changes in scope, and there really shouldn't be too many variables left.
Right.
But we'll keep pushing them to try and get that track down.
Thank you.
193 Beekman. The developer was in front of the planning board, I think it was last week. I shared there was an updated architectural rendering of the facade.
Is that online that you got that, or did he send it to you?
I didn't. I had him send it to me. Yes, I passed that around. It's up on the share drive if you want to take a look. And this is just for the mixed use portion of the building. The townhomes is something that is still under consideration. Hopefully that would be part of the next, I think they're set to go in front of the planning board again this Thursday at their regular meeting. So I don't know if that's just going to be a repeat of what we've already seen, or if they have any additional graphics, to present. 6468 Beekman RFEI. As of right now, I have not heard that we've gotten any RFIs. The deadline is tomorrow.
Even from the people that were at the.
I'm gonna reach out to the folks that I had forwarded the RFEI to.
And were they the ones that were involved in the land use?
They've been
that 1-day seminar that.
No, but I've reached out to anyone that the LDC's previously dealt with for 6468
Did we reach out to the people that were participating in that? Because remember there was that workshop.
I know if Sean McCarthy reached out to a few folks. I don't know if they would be included in that group. I can certainly.
Okay. Do we want to extend it another 2 weeks and then make a concerted effort to?
Well, I don't know if that's because this isn't the deadline. This is just the deadline for folks to submit questions.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that there have been no questions, but I don't know. So yeah, we're still a month.
Relatively straightforward project.
Yeah, but we're still a month away from the deadline for them to submit.
Okay.
Right, that would be March 25th.
Can you verify that everybody who was involved in that workshop, that 1-day workshop, that they specifically received the reach out, so that we have them and then anybody you have been contacting?
And that was through Pace Law, right?
Yeah. I think Anthony probably has the list of people, but there were multiple developers that reached out.
Yeah, I was looking through my emails.
I think they were at that.
I couldn't find
Yeah, you were at that.
I went 1 day.
Yeah.
But I couldn't
And
find.
I'll check with Anthony.
Somebody, I remember somebody showing me a couple of people.
Yeah.
I'll check in again with Anthony tomorrow, because technically the due date for RFIs is tomorrow at noon. So it could also be people are waiting till the last minute to just make sure they've got everything.
Yeah.
And, might be inundated.
Okay.
We would have 2 weeks to respond to those RFIs, and then the
25th is the submission.
25th is the
Okay.
submission date. The appraisal, the update appraisal for the east parcel, I shared that with all of you. It's in a final draft form right now. Let me know if you have any questions on, the format or any of the content within, and I can get back to the appraiser to either revise or finalize. That was broken up into, there's really 3 totals that are important. The first is the current as-is value, right? That's right now, which is coming in around 22.5 million. The prospective value upon completion of both the DPW back of house and parks projects, which would increase the total, and then additionally the prospective value upon completion of the full DPW build out. The reason those are included is because those are elements that have essentially been fully designed and are at some level of completion or ready to go to construction. So this is something, the appraisal would have to be updated about every 3 years. It's a requirement of the bond funding. One small update on the ESD grant. I just got today, actually, the grant disbursement agreement. So we'll have to have Harris Beach review legally to make sure, there's no issues, and we can get that to a place where we can sign it and have get full execution from ESD. Once that happens, the LDC will be responsible for a $15,800 fee to ESD so that they can hold a public hearing. And then the LDC would submit all the reimbursement documentation, pretty much the same stuff we did for the LWRP. Once ESD has all of that, they take likely a couple of months to perform their own audit before finalizing and forwarding the lump sum payment. So right now, everything's moving along, at pretty much the timeline that our grant administrator had laid out several months back. So, we would likely see reimbursement for that $1.58 million grant sometime this summer.
They have an open forum for people to ask questions. What was that?
I'm not sure of the structure of everything, but they've already done a couple of steps. They've had their own board meetings and hearings at ESD to, go through the project and approve it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what this public hearing is for specifically, but yes, I imagine it's something that if there are folks that are concerned, from the state side, right? Why'd you give them $1.6 million? I'm assuming that's what it's for. In other good news, 100 College should be closing tomorrow. The bond issuance fee that is due to the LDC is, I believe, $475,380. So we should see that tomorrow.
Cool.
And then
Funds come tomorrow too?
Yes.
All right, that's good. We can pay Sean's loan.
And so we're
Good, guys. We're
back to
main
Back in the green.
Well, we've been in the green for a couple of weeks. We've never been in the red.
Yeah.
I do.
Close enough to make us sweat.
I do have a site visit scheduled with Peter Strom and Suzanne Jones, tentatively for March 2nd.
They are.
She's the Sustainable
Yeah.
City Hollow,
And the tree commission.
one of the 3 the chair, or one of the chairs, and I don't know him, but
Peter is
he's the
tree guy.
arborist, village
Yeah,
arborist.
village tree guy.
And the idea is to walk the site. I previously shared with both of them some plans or that identify locations that, where the roadway is completed, little triangular areas that are not going to be subject to future development where, hey, we could put some plantings. The village does have a surplus of trees.
That's right.
Let's get them in the ground.
So hopefully, we'll see over the next couple of weeks if we get some melt action.
And have you spoken with Kevin about those extra trees that they have down there? because he's probably going to be happy to get them out of.
Oh, yeah, I've talked,
okay.
Kevin was the first person I
Great,
talked to.
great, okay. Good.
I would have liked them to have planted them before.
Yeah, okay.
But,
Okay. Well, we should plant a ton because trees take a long time to grow and some of them will die and that whole
yeah,
site
so that's
needs shade.
That's part of the idea for the site walk.
Yeah.
Is that Peter and I've already walked the site with Suzanne.
Tell them to go crazy though,
earlier
like
on, but
really over plant.
For
Have their way with it.
just
Exactly.
a random question about 193, if there's no fencing or anything and the road opens and it's still the LDC's property, like do we have to?
well, there's fencing. There's fencing along the entire right of way between our property.
But like it's just gonna be like an open site.
Yeah, it's open dirt, but
It is what it is.
yeah, I mean, the fencing is up at where the site is level, so I don't think, and that's something, I mean, depending on how close the developer gets, at some point, they would put up their own protective fencing once they're ready to move forward with construction. But I don't think that I don't think that there would be any issues, especially the sidewalks on the other side of the road. But, obviously if it becomes an issue.
The site tour is on March 3rd, you said?
Right now it's March 2nd. We may adjust that, have to look at the weather. I mean, if we're still buried with a couple feet of snow, and because the sidewalks aren't cleared out there because it's not open to the public yet, but the roads are open for the DPW's snow clearing operation. So I'll touch base with them in another, by the end of the week and see if they think it's wise to do it now or maybe hold off for another week or two until we get a little bit better weather. And that's pretty much everything I have in my report.
Great.
For the bond, getting the appraisal for the site, you need that for future bond funding or for the current?
That's where I would defer to Harris Beach.
Because aren't we done with the bonds?
If you're going to issue bonds, you'll end up having to get an appraisal, a new appraisal.
I just asked because I thought we were
Yeah.
done, so not that we wouldn't need it again, but do we wait until, is this just an approval of whatever it was?
Well, you can compare this version of the appraisal to the one that we had from 3 years ago, just to see, obviously, funds have been expended. There's infrastructure that didn't previously exist, and correspondingly, the value of the property has increased. So
one thing I wanted to bring up is as we look to open the road, we have the fencing. I think we should kind of think through the transition from it being a non-used item to also public safety and where's the, keeping the direction for pedestrians and then also traffic flow and the impact on the Continental and Kendall streets. So it sounds like we're pretty feeling good on the pedestrian access with the new fencing. I think that makes sense and then we just want to make sure that fenced in area where the DPW is now, that anything dangerous or potentially that's all out of there because there's a lot of like old equipment type stuff. And I know that like we've had people parking down there when that's just kind of like the circus was down there when there was just like old equipment there. But if we're going to have people walking through there, we should make sure it's all out.
Yeah, and that's going to be part of the DPW cleanup effort, right? With the exception of some materials down there, it's pretty much all DPW equipment.
Yeah. Like
trailers and
surplus
salt bodies and things like that. So that's all going to have to find a home.
Yeah, because if people are going to be walking through there, and it's going to be people doing their like walking circuits probably, and maybe riding bikes. So there could be kids running around and stuff. So then traffic flow. So the village uses a on-call traffic consultant basically. called AKRF. They've done a lot of intersections around here.
That's right, yeah.
So we should get them to do some suggested modeling. We have some plans that were drawn up in 2017 or 18 about ways you could direct pedestrian flow through that site, because I anticipate there will be a lot of people walking like through Kingsland, around, up Beekman. Like that's going to be a nice loop through the park, and you get through Debris, because people already do it and go all the way kind of around Mechanico. So there will be, I think the biggest challenge is going to be the entrance along Continental, because there is no sidewalk, nothing. There's just kind of, and then there's parking along the edges. And so the drawings from 2017, 2018 had some ideas of how you could like paint a pedestrian walkway in there and move the parking spots, I think, back a little bit so that you can have a kind of a protected pathway for pedestrians along the edge. So
How does it work with LDC on the village
yeah, so I think
property?
I think we should get AKRF to do the study and to make some proposals, and then we should talk about that with the village. I'm guessing that they would probably have to give us approval to let a contractor just make some changes.
Is it a Board of Trustees thing, or is that like the traffic committee?
I think we should do the study, and then we should talk to the Board of Trustees about what we want to do now versus later, because like putting in a sidewalk would be a really big project, but.
I think the concern that maybe not everybody knows is there's really no sidewalk on Continental.
Right, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like, it's just a road.
Higgledy-piggledy, as the English would say.
Yeah, and it's pretty narrow and steep. So we want to figure out a way to.
And anybody who uses that frequently, once there's new pedestrian and traffic flows, they're not going to be accustomed to that.
Right, yeah.
It's going to put everybody at risk.
So there might be some stuff we can do with just like a painted bump out, to then you'd shift the cars over a little bit, and you could put like a pedestrian walkway with.
And I think that even goes to the inside the parking, the fenced area that is going to be used for parking, not like if there's a very clear pedestrian area.
Yeah.
If and when there's people parking at any of the events, there's like direct access.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all simple, theoretically, temporary conditions.
And are we gonna, so theoretically also, if we need additional parking, then we would be able to use the fenced off area that, yeah, okay. And then you could walk through Debris or up Continental or up Clinton to get to Beekman. So that's gonna be a pretty useful asset to the village for overflow parking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But another reason why it needs to be pedestrian friendly, because if you get tourists parking there, walking up that side.
Yeah, well, they're going to walk up Continental
Right.
to Mechanico
Right.
to get down
Yes.
to
Historic
the
Hudson, yes.
the statue, go
Yeah.
up to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, it's just going to create a lot of, oh, we could park there. What's the closest thing we could go to?
Right. And then that.
When
hill is not
HHV,
there.
and when we talked to them, they said during their events, they have it so you can only go through their parking. And then, so people actually walk they don't walk out of the fence area, they walk to their parking, and then they walk to that little
The back
pathway
way.
that's through their, the property, so.
Yeah, the last time HHV had their events where they utilized the parking, the road was still not even fully paved yet, so the prerogative was to only utilize that new portion of the intersection for emergency, you got to get ambulance in or out quickly.
It was probably also easier for them to
That
manage.
may change moving forward in the future now that the roadway is like completed, to where, and especially if you're anticipating heavier flows for larger events or, multiple events happening at the same time, there's the ability to kind of flow people in through HHV and out. You can make it one way even, where you're coming in and exiting through Beekman or however you need to do it. But certainly something that'll have to be monitored as we move forward, because you don't know what new traffic patterns are going to emerge, or if you're going to start creating, issues
Yeah.
somewhere else kind of thing.
Yeah, I think ultimately we'll want to do another like traffic flow study, but I think that we're going to see what happens first. It's interesting to think now that we're talking about it, if we want to use that as overflow parking for events and we want to charge money for it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we do that if Historic Hudson Valley is also using it.
Well, they use it for their events specifically, and,
So you either have a Historic Hudson Valley ticket or you pay $10 or something.
well, what I told them was to make it cheaper for village residences is you charge for parking and then the ticket is less. So that we don't, so, because we can walk there,
Yeah,
but like.
that's why they do the Blaze, right? They charge.
I don't think so.
No, it's all included?
I think
It's all included in the ticket price, yeah.
But,
Okay.
But yeah, I think,
We should think about
for
this.
example, like, the Halloween parades and
Right.
4th of July
Exactly.
parades and all, like, yeah, sure, parking in the East Parcel, North Lot,
Yeah.
$20 a car or something, and
Yeah,
maybe you even have a shuttle going,
Yeah.
for people up the road.
yeah, and whether or
Yeah.
not, we can break out, maybe it's, we share.
like a portion
Maybe
is
it's, yeah.
marked off.
Or,
Yeah.
until the multipurpose field is actually built, there could be, who says you can't park all over there either?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
all
it's
mud
like,
though.
not that you want people beating it all up, but
Yeah.
there's people park on the grass.
Yeah.
It's like,
Not
anyways.
unless we plant a wildfire.
I was just going to say, isn't there already
meadow.
seedling in there?
There is grass seed. That was one of the other with Suzanne. We're going to take a look at in the spring what we can do to maybe beautify some areas. It won't be the entire, but in theory, over the course of the spring, that should establish into a nice grass turf. So it should be somewhat more durable, and again, it's a temporary until.
But that's going to be great,
Yeah.
4th of July fireworks viewing, if there's a grassy area there.
Should be.
And we charge for parking in Kingsland, so. Okay, all right, let's keep
Should
going.
we,
Yeah. We
go
on
on to,
Motion to go, or anything else?
Well, no, we still have the.
do we need to go
Getting
in,
ahead of
I don't know,
myself.
do we need to go
What's
into
the
an
date,
exec
right?
for
No,
any of this other stuff? Website?
we want to do this, yeah, I don't think we need the next two things are not.
Yeah,
Oh,
really, next 3, website, budget, and fabrication.
My first feedback is I don't think we should have this as the.
Yeah.
Oh, so that just is the cover photo of
Yeah.
when I took a screenshot. There's a slideshow.
Yeah.
So there's about a dozen, I think, different images that it cycles through.
Yeah. And then typically, I don't know, I have my feedback about the overall village website, which I don't need to comment on here. But I think I know that we're talking about, and we have a doc, we want to put our things like our mission statement and our vision and everything in the organizational page or link to it from there. That said, I think even if we just make sure that on the main page and where people land, how do we in the most succinct fashion say this is what the LDC is and does and the value that it provides? Because otherwise people are like, I have no idea. Most people, when I say the LDC, they have no idea what that is. So we tend to speak our own vernacular when we're in it, but I think the general public won't have a concept of that. So my suggestion is the links all make sense to me, but just something that
Is it not
uh,
says
the
who we
mission
are.
statement?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
but it's buried, and
you
I
have
think we want to bring
click.
it to the
That's a good
fore.
point. Right, when you go to the landing page, you see this picture or whatever picture is up there at that moment, and then there's kind of these links at the top, which, by the way, are not very clear because most people visually are so used to looking at links on the left side.
Or
And there's
they're
no
used to the
menu.
hamburger that they click on that then drops
Yeah,
down.
so it takes you a minute to figure out that the links at the top work, and so I think you almost need on this first page like an overlay, like Erica's suggesting, that just says, welcome to the LDC, this is what we do, in very general terms.
Who, what, where, when, why, and
Not
how.
mission statement. And I even think we should add like this side menu that we have here, which is available when you click on any of these other ones.
Oh, on the main page.
We should put that on the main
Yeah,
page.
that makes sense.
Because it's a little bit duplicative.
Yeah.
But some people that's how they navigate websites. They
Yeah.
just look to the left, And I think that will help to get people to find what they're looking for.
But these two right now don't match.
Correct.
So they need to be
Yeah.
coalesced, and I still think a hamburger drop down on, because that's the standard way that you do
Yeah,
website
when you
navigation
see the
now.
little.
Could you
whatever.
also get rid
Yeah,
of
it's
the
the
top
3
one?
lines.
If you add the left,
Yeah, they'd almost like,
Then
why
you
do
could
you
get
need
rid
to
of
see
this.
that, like,
Yeah.
there's like
Right,
these
So-
projects?
yeah,
right. So you basically you transcribe these
Yeah.
links.
Yeah.
and add them
Become
to
on
the
the
list.
side,
Yeah,
so that it's consistent with the rest of it. And then
Yeah.
when you go to those areas, then you get different links because
Yeah.
you're already within that area. Yeah.
That
I think that would be helpful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, another comment here, which I think, I've made previously, is that, we need to make sure that the documents that are on the website here, somewhere in here, we put all of our Paris reporting, which right now, you can go to the ABO site, you can find it, but I think part of their guidelines are that everything that we upload to Paris for this year and the year prior, for at least 2 years, should be available on the
Is it
website.
just reporting?
It's basically just reporting, it's things like our report. Yeah, it's
Yeah, but it's like, it's just one more.
essentially, yeah, we can
Yeah.
call it something like, ABO reporting or regulatory reporting, whatever we want to title it. And it could be there, and that's where we would put all these documents, the measurement report, the internal assessment of controls, those kinds of things.
Okay.
And then, another thing I think is just, I guess what I would call like cleanup, like there's a lot of materials here, some of which, and maybe some of it's been cleaned up since I looked at this prior, but a lot of it is like, I would call it like archive type stuff. It's done years ago. Maybe somebody would want to look at it at some point.
So it has been helpful for me to look at some of the old stuff.
Yeah.
So I would err on the side of just continuing the list and adding the new stuff on top.
Okay.
Like like there's one that I reference all the time. Maybe the site plan, the one that's like 300 pages long.
EIS.
EIS, yeah.
But you can find that on our shared drive as well. So this is
Right.
our public facing.
But I have sent people links to that
I think
document.
it's, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's.
Yeah, I think even the EIS is actually posted on the village website on one of the pages
Okay,
somewhere.
so maybe that's where I link people to, but it's extremely helpful. It has basically all of the sketch outs of how traffic flow is going to be and the impact of, where
Yeah.
people are going to walk and different options. So yeah, it's good stuff.
But do we need to have like the Metro North entry permit provide a short? You know what I mean? Like the entry permit for phase 2, East Parcel SWPPP from 2020. There's all these permits in here that, I don't know how useful it is to have old permits for the public to look that up. And if they were really looking for that, I mean, they could probably ask somebody from LDC. It just,
Well, I think there's a way of structuring a historical document / archive site and a page that makes it, these are just, to me, anytime that I've been on it, especially when I first joined, it's like, okay, what do all these mean? So I think it's more building a taxonomy around them, so you could just have all the permits, you could, instead of just having just by name, but, here's the date and what it's really related to.
Yeah.
I think MNR, people aren't gonna know what any
Yeah,
of these
that's true.
acronyms mean.
Yeah.
So I think that's more than anything else, is it's just a little bit, again, you have to assume that people don't know our vernacular.
Yes.
And that they need it to be much clearer, and I think that's fine, because people may be curious, right?
Mhm.
And we have nothing to hide, so we might as well just put it out there. It's just being a little bit more articulate about what they are, and organized from a taxonomy perspective, instead of
It
just
could almost be
random bucket of things.
it could almost be reports and permits.
Yeah,
Like, this is just stuff that.
Over time, it just
Yeah.
adds to it.
yeah. Document repository.
Yeah, exactly, including
Historical
reports and permits. The projects page. I
If you
think,
really
is
want
like-
to inundate yourself with stuff to read, here you go.
Except we should add 64 to 68
Mm-hmm.
to the projects page. So I don't know how you,
It's there.
It's got its own, the
It's got its own
6468
page?
Beekman has
Okay.
its
Okay.
own separate
Sounds good.
page, just
Okay.
like 193 Beekman.
okay.
I think we should have somewhere on here, like a site plan. Like, I don't think you can actually find like an updated.
I think
site
it's typically buried, but yeah.
plan. Yeah. Like, just like this,
Are the
like what everything's supposed to
Mark
be.
E. Ruddock plans on the website?
Should be.
Okay, do you know what page they're on?
It is probably in, was there not the permits page, but projects page. I can go back and look. I
Okay.
believe that this, or maybe on one of the main pages, that's,
Okay.
I believe there is a link to, or at least there was.
If there's not, or what might make sense is East Parcel Projects
Yeah.
adding like a site, some
Sure.
sort of site plan or like
Yep.
draft. I would mark it as draft, obviously, but all of the like printouts from in there are super helpful for
Yep.
everybody.
And then again, we have a bunch of different vernacular. We call it the East Parcel. It's also being referred to as Sleepy Hollow Commons. So let's either we use one or the other, but my recommendation would be actually to use both.
Yeah. So East Parcel Projects dash Sleepy Hollow Common.
Yeah.
Should we have our own individual LDC email addresses?
No.
And the generic info email.
Which is what we have.
Yeah.
It's
Well, they can send us all one.
yeah.
And I also, we still have the phase 1, 2, and 3, and we got to drop that because like we're doing the park before the DPW.
Oh, that's a good point, especially because that appears in the links.
Yes.
Like it says Sleepy Hollow Common -2. It's like, what even is that? So
Yes.
that's like, we need a descriptor there because
Yeah.
that I assume is like the platform.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
Okay, that's, yes.
So like, it should be DPW final design presentation, not phase 3.
Yeah.
Right. People are, yeah.
Yeah, and using the phases is only going to confuse people because we are starting phase 5.
Yeah. Like this is good, like where we say phase 1B, parentheses, WIC drain
Yeah.
and surcharge program. That's fine, because you can at least see what that is. Yeah.
But I think anything phase 3, 4, and 5, we got to stop using the phases because
Yep.
we're not doing it in that order. So
It's
it's
got to
just
be
confusing.
a more descriptive term, yeah. One other thing that I noticed, and this is not necessarily in our section of the website, but when you go to watch the meetings live, for whatever reason, we stopped uploading them November 5th. Like, we have all the other ones, but the last one we uploaded was November 5th. So I don't know, maybe we're just behind schedule, but. we
Who
should
does
make
that?
sure we're-
I believe that's Burns usually goes on and grabs it from the cloud. The issue there might be if it's not, like, I'm not 100% sure since I don't normally start the meetings if I saved it to the right spot. But he should have at least since November, he should have access to the last couple of meetings.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah. So if anything, that's just a nudge to him, right?
Yeah, so for 193 Beekman, I don't think we should add the executed LDA. That's probably too much, but I do think we should maybe put up some renderings of what, preliminary renderings, I don't know.
So they made a planning board presentation,
Yeah.
so what we could also do is just link to the planning.
I think
board.
that's exactly what it should
Exactly, yeah.
be. In their own words.
We already have that planning board presentation material. Yeah, so we can just add a link there. And yeah, I think 64 to 68, we can add the information once we have it back from the vendor we approved this evening.
LGA.
Yep.
TGA.
TGA. Close. Another acronym.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those changes will definitely points in the right direction. Can't
Yeah.
think of anything else right now.
What is, when you click on any of the agendas, resolutions, milestones, what does milestones take you to?
Milestones currently takes you to a PDF or a group of PDFs that just outline exactly that milestone.
Oh, it's that graphic.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
20.
The 2-page
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
That's like,
Yeah.
that, I mean, I would assume I could just go over like that mission statement.
Yeah,
like,
to your
that-
point,
That link.
should we get these round things, should they instead be like top level ones?
Yeah.
Should we choose,
I think you do them top
6.
level and then sub from in there.
so maybe so what are the top, what if we had to choose 4, what would we choose? I would choose the organization as one,
Mission statement as another.
mission statement,
Then,
operations and accomplishments,
sure.
What was it?
and then maybe
Organization,
reporting.
Mission statement, operations and
So
accomplishments.
is the
Yeah.
operations and accomplishments, that is the milestone?
No.
It's separate.
That is separate.
They're somewhat intertwined, but no, it's the milestones. Is the one on the left is a Paris document. The milestones is just a
Marketing.
marketing.
And then is there any validity, I guess we're scrapping calendar because I don't know that we really have anything on the calendar other than
I mean, that's just.
our meetings, right?
Yeah, so I
Which
would just
should
move
be
that,
publicly available.
yeah.
But I don't think it needs to be the,
calendar.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have to be like one of these prominent.
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
It could just be off to the side.
Yeah. And so who makes these changes?
Well, depending on what it is likely going to be whoever manages the village website. Because certain things like moving buttons around and completely reconfiguring a page, that is beyond my capability.
Okay.
that's
I
fine.
can add and remove documents. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So there's some simpler things I can probably take care of, and then whatever's left over would be for the website admin to do a little bit of an overhaul.
Does anybody know who that website admin is?
Yeah, let's strategize this.
It's been a couple of people.
Okay.
Currently, I believe it's, but I even think it's transitioning again. So
We should, just thinking, this is such a specific thing to redesign and talk, we should just maybe one of us take on the responsibility of like
That's,
sitting down with that person.
yeah,
And-
that's fine. I'm happy to do it. I think, let's not call it a redesign because then that triggers everybody to say,
Yeah.
oh, that's going to cost a lot of
Yeah.
money. These are just hygiene things that we're doing
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
it the flow cleaner and to make sure that we're communicating in a more effective manner to the public.
Yeah.
So if you could find out for me, Dan, and you took a lot of notes on.
I
all the
did,
changes.
I took
Okay.
a bunch of stuff there
Okay.
on what we were.
And it's not, these things aren't meant to be static, so we could always, between what you've been doing in terms of just making sure that things are uploaded there, but I'm sure we could always continue to make changes.
Okay.
Anything for this?
Can move on to the budget.
Mhm.
The budget. Okay.
Need my bifocals.
Yeah, so there's 2 documents here for the budget. One is the one that Dan has historically prepared, but what I tried to do was basically transpose that into this document, which takes the operating budget and combines it with a prospective capital budget. So that's what you see here, which is the vertical one. It's essentially the same as the operating budget, but in the lower part, it has this, our assumptions for capital expenses, and that ties with, the part in the top here.
How do we represent, though, the inflow of grants to cover some of these capital
So that's in
expenditures?
here. That's in here. That's, if you're looking at, non-operating revenues, so there's state subsidies grants, federal subsidies grants, municipal grants. A lot of those are empty, but the ones where we've actually won proceeds we filled them in here with sort of the.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I think, and that's helpful, but somehow it feels like, I don't know, as a CEO, I would say, okay, I want numbers to tie out. The capital expenditure does not tie out to the budget.
You've hit upon, that's the crux of the whole thing.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
So in the past,
Yeah.
that's how the budget was always balanced, right? But it did not include a lot of the capital stuff, right? Since that was, right, we have the bond proceeds, right, which was kind of like a separate
well,
budget.
and it's so nebulous, right? Because it's a timing, it's about when we actually, so I recognize all that. I think it's just sometimes, it's like, I like that one.
Yeah. So
one sheet that tells me everything that I need to know and that keeps everything accountable.
yeah,
So
what I had done here is, I create, this top portion and, the columns to the right that are colorized. This is the exact information that gets plugged into Paris, right? So it's word for word. I extended a couple of rows or I added some just because maybe there's income from different sources and so that you can tell it's going to be a combination of a couple numbers. So, I mean, I put in here just so that, otherwise you'd be looking at huge deficits, right? Because there's
Yes,
of course.
bond proceeds that we're drawing down from. So I put that as another row. I don't know if this all works out from an accounting point of view. That's where like the auditors would have to get involved to determine where.
well, you're not far off.
But I have a view on that. So what this particular configuration of the budget, this is essentially like what we can afford to do today with no more revenues, right? With no more grant proceeds or bond revenues, right? So potentially we could do more if we win more grants or we raise more bonds. But, this is set up such that, we have all these plans for the future, but there are only a few that we could really get through today based on the amount of revenues that we're expecting to come in. So that's what's reflected here. And you can you see the details of that on the very bottom lines where, we've got sort of an expenditure plan for, 64, 68 Beekman, DPW House, the tennis courts, promenade area, and maybe even the DPW fuel island and, salt shed and then beyond that, it starts to get a little bit, questionable as to where the funds are going to come from. And that's the puzzle that we all have to solve in the next several years.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're looking at here. And I will say one more thing is that, this assumes that we get proceeds from our settlement, right? From our pending, settlement. And, this is just my opinion. I would take that out. I would maybe footnote that, but I would take it out of the revenues because it's not a certain, in terms of timing.
Typically
and
speaking,
amount.
you wouldn't include it in a budget because
Right.
it's not a
You
certain.
can't count on it. You cannot plan based on that. We hope we get it, right? We think we will, but you can't make a plan based on that. So if you take that out, it's going to look even worse for us short term. But I think it's important to face that reality and really have a solid hold on what you can realistically accomplish.
Don't you accrue for whatever you believe is to be certain? There's like some level of certainty.
There might be a methodology
So
on
maybe
that.
not the full 4, but maybe like 2.5 or something.
I think that's probably a good way of
we can
doing
discuss,
it.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, that's just my opinion. We can come to an agreement on what we want to plan for.
Although I wonder if there's, I wonder if there's
Yes.
actually, if we don't, let's talk about that in exec.
Okay.
Why is it that?
No, because that's not flowing through. That's an assumption. That's from this.
So I guess the next question is, a lot of these numbers are
That's
very,
bond proceeds.
are old too. Although, I don't know,
That's bond proceeds.
maybe this is kind of accurate.
What do you think about the numbers under the future capital expenses, Dan?
Say that again?
What do you think about, to Lauren's question about,
Like the.
are these still
DPW
relevant numbers or up-to-date numbers?
These are, I mean, as up to date as they're going to get without
Yeah.
going
More
through another
surveying,
effort
appraisals,
of,
yeah.
right, or more detailed, estimate. But, I know a lot of these are taken either from, good numbers that we got at some point and applied some, escalation to it. Or it's just a rough, certain numbers are just rough budgetary and, based on a number of different things, but like I said, it's as close as you're going to get without actually doing a concerted design and developing actual, construction cost numbers.
Yeah.
I think there's only one.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these things also may change as well. Like we're about to have our discussion on, design. But if we do mess with the design in any way, obviously there's going to be, costs are going to go up for sort of redoing that.
Or down.
Or down, maybe.
Yeah.
Or down, sure.
There's design costs, there's soft costs. And
Yeah.
costs.
What's
The-
our timeline for budget, completion of the budget?
Our budget has to be uploaded by the end of April.
Okay.
In Paris. Now, the budget that the LDC approves does not necessarily have to be the exact same budget as the one that the village assigns. It is a good thing if they match, though, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so we have a little bit of time on budget.
Yeah, and I think generally
Yeah.
the budget for,
And the village has their own process, so I know they're
Yeah.
trying to get to a certain point. So we probably want to have ours defined a little bit in
Yeah.
advance to.
then feed in, and
right.
it's going to be probably right around that operating expenses number, which is usually like 400 some. I think it's been pretty static for the past.
So that's one
that's
thing to note here is that in this version, the quote-unquote operating expenses for the LDC, which is separate from debt service, have been removed from this projection, right? And that's completely fine, right? There's, there are inflows, right, over time that are projected that, it's a possibility, right? That's one way to reduce the overall line item in the village's budget. But that comes with its own kind of inherent risks, right? If there's no operating budget within the village budget, we are completely dependent on, grant funds continuing to roll in, projects not going over budget. So as long as there's, our operating costs traditionally have been under the, funded by the village, right? Mm-hmm. Which means that we have zero funds in our account. Well, we can't progress any projects. But when we get a bill from a vendor or, because we do have bills that we have to pay, we're able to do that it gets reimbursed by the village. So I think there's probably a happy medium there, right? We can certainly aim to try and reduce what that operating, cost is, and go from there.
So you're saying that number isn't in this?
So that's been removed from this copy, right?
But it is
There's
I don't know.
this.
so and
For all intents and purposes, what you're saying, that's this.
yeah, and that's if you go down to the second,
Correct.
the middle third.
So this is what the village approves.
Yeah,
and
the
that's,
middle third on that sheet, on this bigger sheet is really, to Dan's point, is really.
it is
what we're
all
seeing.
it's outlined here. It's just not colored, and
Okay.
so this should be a direct
Okay.
match. It's just that this number was
Numbers
not
don't
pulled
tie.
up into here.
Oh, so this isn't included in the operating expenditures?
Sorry, where
Well, it was-
on this is this?
So if you here we have other operating
That's- oh,
revenues.
right there. Okay, got it.
Yep, it's the second up
Yeah.
or third.
The headers are different though, so be careful which column you look at.
Yeah, okay, this
Yeah.
makes sense.
For last year. Or for second this year.
Right. But I think it is in here though, right? Isn't it just under operating expenditures? Isn't it the same?
Yeah, it's right here.
So it is in here.
Wait, where are you?
Yeah, it's
Up here?
Oh, you know what?
Am I thinking of
Hold on a
this
second.
correctly? These should add up to this number down here, which I think is close. I'm just eyeballing it.
Right. So expenditures, yes,
Okay.
but revenue, no.
Not revenue. Okay.
So, right,
Okay.
and sorry, now I'm looking at this again. It is, there might be two different versions of this floating around, but here there is a smaller line item carried. But again, that's for the board to decide.
Right,
This-
so-
I mean, this number here is this number,
Yeah,
the one that I was
486.
asking. the-
And it's
the
also right
license,
here.
The VSH.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah, so
It's
the expenses are accurate.
Yes.
It's the revenues that we haven't added back some of our potential revenues into this projection.
Well, and namely, right, in the past, the operating revenues under the village of, the VHS license, right, that's always been
Yeah.
the LDC operating budget.
Yeah,
I think there was a version that was shared that just had 0 across the line there,
I see.
right? Which, again, is fine, right? There's the projections, there's
Yeah.
money coming in. But again, that's where when you get to, it may just delay projects further, right? Because we got to make sure that we're always operating with some minimum account balance.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't think the right answer is necessarily to have that be 0, but
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the entire operating budget
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And by the way, I think the first draft of this that I circulated had an account balance after this. So you could see from one year to the next, like how the account balance changed based on the surplus of the deficit, which is, theoretical, right? Like, a lot more could go into that, and maybe we don't want to show it on this budget, but it was a useful tool to see, what you could afford to spend.
You can, you can go back and play this. Again, I modified this just for ease of reporting
Yep.
moving forward.
I think it makes sense.
This is the exact, like when you go through Paris, those are all the boxes that you have to fill in.
Yeah.
So, if you want to have additional stuff, you can insert a column and then just kind of have it hidden.
Okay.
So that you're able to just, moving forward, it just makes the reporting part of it a little smoother. And that's why all the other stuff is broken out, below, right? Because, operating expenditures is broken out into only 2 or 3 different boxes, but, there's a whole 20 different, or the different projects, the different categories. So this all just kind of rolls up the expenditures to expenditures.
Okay.
This is helpful. I think I want time to
Yeah,
digest.
I was going to
Same.
say, why don't we spend some time with it? Like you said, we have time to finalize this. Doesn't have to be tonight. We have to make some decisions about, the settlement assumptions. We have to figure out if we want to include any other types of revenue, like, for example, if we rent out, the parking lot or whatever to certain operators or whatever. Yeah, so I think this is a good place to start.
Yeah, lots to digest.
next item was just, I think, project phasing and workflow.
What was that specific to?
Yeah, I think, so really what this is, or at least my view, what are the next projects to advance? And as of right now, it's well, really, 6468 Beekman is good to proceed. We'll get the designer going. It's likely going to take them, I know their proposal said about 5 to 6 weeks or so to do the design that they need, but some of that is dependent on them getting access to the site, without being buried by a couple feet of snow. Advertisement, I imagine that we might be ready by this summer to physically execute that work, get it advertised, get a contractor selected, move forward, and then kind of close out that grant project. Aside from that, there's really 2 big projects. There's the park project that Woodard and Kern's advancing as a design build. We've got some things to consider there in terms of the, additional
Yep.
scope and the GMP, and if there need to be any other modifications to that scope to fit within the budget goals. and then the back of house DPW project. Both supported by grants that have been executed at this point, but really just needing to build up the reserves a little bit, right? And there's a number of things. There's 193 Beekman. The sooner that they can get their approvals in place, the sooner we can close. We do have some legal claims. And then there are some other grant reimbursements that should be rolling in, between now and over the summer.
So is the question here, as money rolls in, we will have to prioritize probably either the park project or the DPW back of house, right? Is that the kind of general?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think certainly, there's two ways of looking at it. The park project, right? That's one where, both projects have rolling reimbursements. So as we're physically getting billed for the work, we can reimburse it, and there's might be anywhere from several weeks to several month delay, right? But both of those would continue to bring in some money as the projects are advanced. LWRP is actually a combination of several grants, so that project might be able to proceed with $2 million, right? Because as we're executing and continuing at the reimbursements to the state, there's still over $2 million between those three different grants that would come in over a certain timeline. So the project would almost feed itself, or could. And likewise with the DPW. The DPW, however, is going to have a little bit longer lead time to get to the point where it's ready to go to construction. And then that construction timeline is going to be on a little bit more drawn out, timeline. But and over time, right, certain things may come to fruition that mean, hey, we can advance both of these at the same time. Or if there are other priorities that rise to the surface between now and then. But
I think there's a lot more questions about the DPW than the other
Sure.
areas, just in terms of, what's existing that needs to be changed. There's Terrytown,
Right.
There's a whole bunch of questions that I think still need to be resolved, or at least talked through.
So the park project right now, it's being designed, and then we'll have kind of next steps on that. But the DPW plans are currently being updated now, right?
Nothing's being done to the DPW yet. There's a
The back of house,
proposal.
sorry, back of house.
Right. So it's breaking into two parts, right? There's going to be a little bit of additional analysis and design or value engineering up front to repackage and account for site changes that have evolved.
So we are getting a proposal for the cost
For that
to
scope.
design that.
Correct.
Really, yeah.
And that
What's taking them so long? I mean, it's just a number.
I have it. I'll share it with you guys.
Is that the
either
Woodard and
today or-
Coogan
what's that?
Fern one? No, that's a different one.
That's
the
Sage and
DPW.
Cone.
Okay.
Yeah,
So maybe so I also think that there has been the amenity payment from Edge is coming in soon. And so there's been some discussion of priorities there, and DPW back of house is something that I think is pretty interesting, earmarking some of that money. So there might be a way to also get funding for that from the village to kind of push that project forward as well.
So we have a lot of unknowns before we can really make a call.
Yeah,
on
I think we
phasing.
should wait on this.
Is that
Yeah.
basically
But-
what we're getting, right?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think the idea was that we needed to make a decision.
Okay.
Just that we understand that
Sure.
what the issues really are. And then, all the other projects moving forward, like just kind of figuring out what the priorities are. There's clearly things currently happening. And then, as you move north on a site, there's additional scope. But, so for
This is what I was
DPW,
referring
it's
to.
just the back of house stuff that they're gonna get a proposal for. It's not any additional
has nothing to do with the main facility. It's literally just that open
It's
vehicular
got the
storage,
total line.
and then the
Yeah.
eastern and southern boundary of the DPW area. The big question mark right now is that slope under the senior center, and there's some.
Do we need to get a survey or?
No. Survey we have, that slope has been incorporated. There is likely some coordination that needs to happen between the village and Sage and Coombe. I don't know if there's been any further developments on the village's side. I know they were working with the geotech and to at least assess conditions, but since that slope has been stabilized, I don't know if there's been any, or even is anything planned to be done, but there might be some, efficiencies, right? If we can just coordinate between, those two parties, make sure we're not, redoing anything that's already been done, in terms of geotech and things like that.
How do we, I guess with any income that might be devoted or allocated for this, and any conversations that Marjorie or the board is having with potentially Terrytown, how do we kind of wrap this into something? Because if we're getting proposals just for the back of house,
back of house.
or if
I
there's
think the
other
back of
things,
house.
like, are we just doing the back of house?
Yeah, we should just do the back of house right now. Yeah, I think. But I don't think we can afford the main building anyway, so it kind of works out that that's the part that would need to be removed. But there's a lot of interest of getting that up and running.
So do we, with that in mind, do we want to take some time now to talk about the design of the whole site and the DPW? Because I have a lot of thoughts that I'd like to share with the board, or do we want to save that for a different meeting?
What redesign?
I have a lot of thoughts about how we're going to use the site, when we're going to use the site, where things are, whether that makes sense in light of the usage of that site.
So I think the challenge there is this is the outcome of like many public info sessions and public input. So
Marjorie Ruddick design,
Yeah.
or the DPW?
the Marjorie Ruddick
Yeah.
design, yeah. So I think,
The DPW is, I guess it's really just a functionality thing.
Right.
What works.
yeah,
If it's just our village, it works. If it's, two
Right.
villages, it might
we're gonna
not work.
rethink some stuff.
There's some, we just don't want to back ourselves into a corner with this whole back of
Yeah.
house kind of
Yeah.
Well,
reconfiguration.
I'm talking more about, what you were referring to at the beginning of the meeting, where you've got a performance space here, pocket park, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be at the end of potentially a lacrosse field,
Yeah,
which is going to have speeding lacrosse
No.
balls
Yeah.
flying around.
Yeah.
And by the way, two roads
Squeezed
right
in
here.
Yeah.
between.
So like, I'm not really sure any of this makes sense to put along the road. You've got a three-way intersection here.
Yep.
You
so
know,
that feels like, so I feel like
Yeah.
this part
Yeah.
right here, this is the current project, and I
Yeah.
think we should feel comfortable moving things around, but I don't think we should like wholesale change or adjust the whole elements all over, because this was just, because it was the output of like such an intense public input session.
Sure.
That
Well-
I think if we want to make big changes, like if you say, we don't want this to be a meadow anymore, we want it to be, or like tennis courts. Like, I think
Right.
that's fine. It's just, I don't think we should mess with the basic
The
components.
broader active sports
yeah.
and park and
Yeah.
parking.
And flood resistant, right, and parking with, I think, permeable
Scope within,
pavers.
and like what she's saying, scope within can kind
Yeah.
of shuffle, how
Yeah,
I think,
doing
but
it.
that you can't completely move it around like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, and I don't think.
Yeah.
Three
Yeah.
three
I don't think
pieces,
that's what
within
I'm
each
suggesting.
piece, we
Yeah.
can move things around
I think
potentially.
Unless we wanted to go out to a whole nother public input session, and, if you.
I think we would in general for each
Not
For each-
necessarily.
area.
Yeah.
But I'm mindful that, we do have very limited budget and we have
Yeah.
a very long time frame. Like, for example, like the entire north parcel, like, we're probably not going to touch that for a long
Years,
time.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, right, I'm focused on these
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
parts.
No, but I think moving the pavilion from there to there makes perfect sense, and I don't think that would
Possibly,
be.
or even moving it up here somewhere,
We can't mess with this site, though. This is so expensive.
But so this is why we have to have this discussion, right? Because look, what I want to do, this to
If
me
it's so
is
expensive,
wasted.
why is there so much parking?
What we should do is
There's a parking lot
connect
across the street.
this here, so the driveway goes this
Walk
way.
across the street.
This becomes usable space, and you connect this here. So you have a driveway in the back, they still have all this space
Yeah,
here, they
yeah.
have a huge amount of space here. This is the covered garage at first.
Yeah,
Later, it becomes the shop. So this becomes, instead of just being covered garage, it becomes the actual shop space, and you put the administrative building on top of this, or maybe even put it over here. If you're gonna do that though, you have to overbuild the foundations and make sure that it can support like a building on top.
You also need
And
stairs and
then,
an elevator.
then that opens up this whole space. I agree, at some point, we may want to have an emergency center and community center. That's probably not going to happen for like 15 years. So the question is then, what do we do with this space? And I want to design things here that we can use for the next 10 or 15 years that can be built on top of or around if we want to. One of those may be a pocket park, it might be a performance space, it might be a public plaza, so you can have farmers markets or kiosks for food, power for live music, beer garden, whatever you want to do. Like, this is such an incredible opportunity to have it sort of overseeing the rest of the park, because you're up on a platform, you have parking here already and access, right?
No, you have parking, you have like 500 spots right here.
And there,
Why do you
right, you
need
have,
this?
well, I mean, this is like employee parking slash, but
They can
I mean, yeah,
cross the 20-foot.
this
Yeah.
is the conversation I want to have
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this, because,
yeah, yeah.
this
Walk all
whole
day.
thing
Yeah. Yeah,
is, and by the way, I have similar thoughts about this area here, where it's like, maybe the skate park goes up here, because at the end of the day, if what you and I were talking about, if it's
Yeah.
just a flat plaza with some skate, with some ramps on top of it, you can build over one day, like you can
Yeah.
change the usage.
I hear you, but it makes me nervous to start wholesale moving big pieces to different parts, just because this plan has been, like, you kind of have your vision, and so moving
Yeah.
pieces around, I think, makes sense, but as soon as you start using up space that was supposed to be, like, I agree, there are ways to redo this plan, reconfigure this to create more usable space,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't want to dedicate a portion of it with.
Yeah, I mean, doing something
without knowing
temporary,
where we're going.
spending a lot of money to do something temporary versus just building it.
But it's not a lot of money though, like this is what I'm saying. It's like you have this whole area. One day maybe you're gonna have a big structure on it, but now you spend $400,000 to put in a concrete plaza with some power hookups, and
Yeah,
all of
but-
a sudden you have,
But
this
400,000
great
is
space.
a lot. I mean, it's not a
That's
lot in
the,
a bigger sense,
but
but
we've
it's, I
got
would rather
four-
put that in.
We've got
somewhere.
400,000 grand here and a 400,000 grand here for the skate park.
Hmm.
So you've got $800,000 there of grant money that you
Yeah.
could potentially use on a skate park slash performance space plaza that also doubles as a farmer's market and whatever, like, that's what I'm saying is like, I just don't know, like cramming all of this in,
It's
I
really,
don't know, and you're right on the roadway here,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
a small, I mean, it is a small part, a skate park and tennis courts, and it was really to get this multi-purpose field to fit
Yeah.
in, assuming that it was a big, that this was the draw.
dual use, yeah.
Right.
This was,
Yeah.
there's
And
there's
then-
like 20 people max over here, and then there's like
Yeah.
50 or 100
If you
there.
leave these areas kind of undeveloped at first, you have optionality later to use them as you want. At one, they're a buffer, because like if you have a soccer field, you need a place for like people to warm up. Like you can't just have the soccer field and then nothing on the side.
Mhm.
You need space for people to warm up, you need space for balls to go, like when they go out of bounds, like they can't just like stop at the wall. So you have a little bit of
Same
green
with the
areas.
baseball field, you can't,
Right.
you're gonna need
And
a
also,
net.
frankly, I don't think this is enough parking. This is like 24 spaces or something. If you have a game here with 11 players each, you're gonna have 30 cars that, some of them maybe will go up here, but I don't know if you really want people walking around. You also need parking for the tennis courts, right? So like those people
So
like,
that distance isn't that far.
No.
The walking, I think because I would rather have people walking around all park than.
Or biking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the overall design of the East Parcel is to encourage walking and alternative
people aren't gonna
transportation.
walk, they're gonna drive.
But you've got the raised crosswalks, the raised intersection, the promenade. It's-
People going to a soccer game, guarantee you they will not walk. Everybody will drive.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you could also drive to DeVries and walk over there, because that would be faster for Phillips Manor and Sleepy Hollow Manor to just drive there instead of coming all the way around here.
I just don't think a family that's running late for a soccer game is gonna park in DeVries and walk 300 yards. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, people are gonna drive, they got all their, their stuff, their chairs, like everything they bring to the soccer game. They're gonna park as close as possible, and they're gonna fill up these spots. And then the next game is going to come on the next time, so you're going to have double the amount of cars looking for
Is that
parking.
the only soccer field in the village?
Yes. It's the only
Well,
full-size soccer field.
Municipally
There's, I mean,
owned.
the high school, there's one at the high school, and.
There's-
it might
But
be-
that's a turf field. That's a turf
The
field. That's
field
not a
in
grass field.
Peabody?
Peabody, the field in
Well, I mean, it's
Kingsland
it's
is
not-
What are
not
those? Is that village or is
marked
it
out.
school?
This might not. be
Peabody is
either.
the school. The
May
field
not be
in
a grass
Kingsland is
field.
a
It might
giant
be either,
grass
you know,
field.
really,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Where the music
options.
festival
Well,
is.
sure, we could do-
Yeah, there's soccer goals
Yeah,
there.
we haven't really determined.
Yeah, so,
But this, so I
One
hear you
costs twice as
on
much.
adjusting this kind of making
Yeah.
small adjustments there, but I guess I'm just back to, I don't want to put anything up here until we're sure what we do need or we don't need. And this plan was designed with so much public input and so much thought, and we paid so much money to get this to where it is, that it just feels like, going backwards to.
it does feel that way, but remember that all of that public input was put in before we knew what it was going to cost. And people's opinions may change when you say that, hey, if we want a new community center, which by the way, we already have a community center, but if we want to build a new one, your taxes are going to go up by 10%. That may change people's opinion. And so that's why I'm saying and it also may be a long term.
Are we saying that the senior facility is a community center?
It absolutely is a community center, yeah. That's where our recreational department works out of. That's where the kids go to after-school programs. That's, that is our existing community center.
I mean, it's like a de facto, but I wouldn't say
Yeah.
it's.
I wouldn't think of it as, it's not
Right,
like.
maybe not purpose.
There's not like a
Yeah,
gym.
yeah,
there's
yeah,
not
that's
a-
yeah.
the way to put it.
There's not like a gym or any.
Regardless of what we all decide, how we want to proceed with these different features, I think, saving this space and making this kind of a more compact profile, just gives us more options here for
Yeah.
what we want to do. So, maybe.
And
this
there's
is
nothing
just-
magic about any of this as long as it works.
No, but whatever we decide amongst ourselves here, we should loop in Kevin Smith into that conversation, because, all these are just, I'm just some guy giving his opinion, we need to ask him, does this work for you? Is there a reason that you actually needed all of this? Is there a reason why?
Yeah, and I guess because that's the other thing, is this was all designed with him on the project board, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, and before, digging down into how to make things more efficient and stack, and, a lot of that was actually done as part of the Sage and Coombe effort. We looked at 2 stories, we looked at different layouts, we looked at a lot of things. My biggest concern would be, is it actually a reality to do any kind of combined services with Tarrytown? And if so,
Yeah.
great. Those are the folks that would need to be involved in this, call it the new DPW project team, right? Because what we need to find out is we've designed a facility to manage all of Sleepy Hollow's equipment, personnel, and room for growth. If we are incorporating Tarrytown into the mix, what does that
In
look
some
like?
capacity.
So they've got their own staff, they've got their own vehicles.
They're going to
they've
have their
got-
own needs.
So now are we building a facility that's twice as large? Are we trying to cram everything into the same size facility, but sorry guys, you got to figure out half your stuff has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really need to be sorted out first, so that you're not, again, designing yourself into a corner with, well, now our DPW needs to be 3 stories because.
And incurring more costs on the side.
That's
Yeah.
why the question is, even before you even do the back of house stuff,
I think-
does the salt shed, does it need, if you're combining, does it need to be twice as big?
Yeah, and I don't know again, that's a better question for Kevin Smith. I think the salt shed that is proposed for the east parcel is, I don't know if it's double the capacity that the village has currently at the River Street facility. I don't know that you want to make it that much larger, because it's, you just refill, at some point if you have a major storm. I don't think there's any, cost efficiency to having, a 3,000 ton capacity salt shed. You might just have a lot of salt sitting there that goes unused from year to year. So
Except this year.
Exactly, except this year, where they're going to have to refill it 2 or 3 times. But, these are all things that the design team, the superintendents of those, departments need to weigh in on, and they can figure out, hey, yeah, even if we combined, that salt shed is bigger than what either town has. So, that might work without any changes. I think the back of house is probably the area that, because again, we're tucking into the hillside and into the adjacent slopes. There's much less flexibility as to, and I think they did find the maximum, utilization for those spaces. And I don't think that affects too much other than, again, circulation. You don't want to push building envelopes too much closer just to make sure trucks are able to get in, turn around, back up, load, unload, that kind of thing. So while there's certainly flexibility with the facility itself, just the main building and covered, uncovered storage, totally fine. But we should start, with some direction from the village, right? What is it that you want us to do here, right? And if that involves running, through another process, pulling Tarrytown into the loop, that would be the most logical place to start. Is we got to find out what, equipment and personnel and, because again, the admin spaces for this facility were certainly over-designed. It was conceived that both Parks and DPW would be operating out of that building. But maybe Parks, doesn't, right? And so you can, house 2 DPWs worth of staff without any redesign. But it's the trucks and the lifts, and that's a whole different story. Maybe it works because, again, you don't need 2 super heavy lifts. It's just that the time that lift is used is going to have to be divided between 2. It's really the storage, who's parking vehicles where, and equipment and tools and things like that. So,
Should we put a pin in this and go to?
yeah.
Because I have a few things for exec.
Okay. Anybody have any old business or new business? Whatever that means.
Everything is old and new.
No,
Quite know.
I do not.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations and legal matters.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.